on May 2nd, and welcome everyone to the Superintendent's Environmental Education Collaborative. We're honored for you to join. Let me first of all introduce myself. I am Baugh, the president of Upstream Alliance, and I'd like to walk through just kind of the technical pieces before I turn it over to Dr. Maxwell. So just in the technical end, as you can see, if you've got your computer up, if you are speaking, then please have the green audio button up. And if you're not speaking, if you could put us on mute, that would be really, really helpful. So only those speaking should be non-muted. That's great. And I could hear actually some people that might want to be muted right now already. Excellent, thank you. And then also, if there are problems getting online, I know a couple people have problems, then please use this phone number you can see here to call in. Third is that we encourage people to ask us questions or make comments, and please do that by the chat button you can see. Make sure that you sign it into everyone, and also make sure you press send. And then finally, if you have issues, please call Erica. Let's call help at 410-279-3543. So hopefully the technical issues will not be an issue, but thank you all for joining. And just by way of introduction, a very, very significant call today. We're happy everyone to join. But for one, we are hearing from Congressman John Sarbanes, who's taking a very valuable time to brief us a little bit on Congress and his vision for environmental ed. The second is we're looking at model programs in California and Alabama, exciting programs that we hope they'll serve as models for other districts around the country. And finally, some really hot off the press, exciting news coming out of Washington and Congress that Sarah will share about the latest congressional budget that's been that's the country's budget and where environmental education stands in that, as well as partners that ask for in terms of how we can connect people at the state and the local level. So that is the webinar. The people, you can see we have a robust crowd of people. We're excited for this. And most important, we'll have Congressman Sarbanes and Dr. Maxwell and Campbell as the co-chairs. So let me just do a quick check to see if Congressman Sarbanes is on the phone yet. Congressman, are you on the phone? Okay, so I know the Congressman is in between meetings, so what we'll do then is once he does pipe in, we will short circuit to the Congressman. And so what I'll do is this is his slide that we'll go back to it. And Dr. Maxwell, if it's okay, I'll turn it over to you. And then if it's okay, when the Congressman does arrive, maybe we can, if you're able to interrupt your segment to introduce the Congressman and give him the few minutes that we'd like to share with him.
Happy to do that, Don. Hello, everybody. So again, we wanted to just review as we begin here the mission of our Superintendent's Environmental Education Collaborative. We aim to expand environmental education programs for all students to provide robust real-world learning experiences that bolster STEM learning, civic engagement, and prepare students for the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century workforce. We wanted to talk for a minute about the AASA session that we had in the field trip in New Orleans. We had 93 education leaders on the field trip in the afternoon. We had 60 superintendents at the morning session that we were thrilled with the numbers at both sessions. We did some surveys, and the surveys indicated that leaders across the country would like some help with funding, with partnerships, and with process. And it is the surveys that we gave and the responses that we got that provide the basis for this webinar. We didn't just pull this out of the air. The points that people are going to cover in this webinar are directly from the surveys, because we wanted to make sure that we were responsive and helpful to people. So with that in mind, today's webinar goals are first and foremost about models, learning about model environmental education programs in California and Alabama. A little bit about partnerships, learn who to form partnerships with and the best ways of collaborating with them. There's going to be some information on funding for environmental education through ESSA and there will be some process conversation, learning about the process to advance any school district to the next level in the work in which they are engaged. And so, unless Congressman Sarbanes.
I'm on the phone, Kevin. Or Don, is that Dawn? I don't know. I'm talking right now, but I'm here.
This is Kevin right now, but let me go ahead, Congressman Sarbanes, and before we go to Ann, and let me give you an opportunity, because I know you're on short time frame with everything that's going on Capitol Hill, but for everybody on the webinar, Congressman Sarbanes has been a great champion of this work. We've had many conversations, some in his office, some out in our communities, and he sponsored the No Child Left Inside legislation at the national level. And I could go on and on about it, but he's a great congressman and a great friend of this work. And with that, I'll turn it over to my friend and Congressman John Sarbanes.
Thanks very much, Kevin. And it sounds like another great opportunity today to get people connected with each other. And I want to thank you for your tremendous work in the environmental arena. To Don Baugh with the Upstream Alliance, thank you, Don, for all that you've done, and obviously the North American Association of Environmental Education. I know we have Sarah on here. They've been really the prime clearinghouse in making sure people are connecting on these opportunities, and all the other folks participating in superintendents you're going to hear from, teachers, board members, and others who recognize what an important opportunity is presented by being able to fully integrate environmental education into instructional programming across the country. And that was the motivation I had almost 10 years ago when Don and others that were part of a growing coalition came to me and started to talk about the importance of creating resource opportunities at the federal level, and particularly within the U.S. Department of Education, to support environmental literacy across the country. And I jumped at it eagerly because I grew up in Maryland, vacationed on the Eastern Shore. My grandmother's house, very connected to Chesapeake Bay, and I understood implicitly how meaningful it could be for young people to have this opportunity early to appreciate their environment, get out into nature, and really make it part of their DNA. So we introduced, at this point, 10 years ago, the No Child Left Inside Act, recognizing that we really wanted to embed environmental literacy in instructional programming across the country, make it really foundational. Everything that's happened since then has only strengthened my conviction that was the right instinct. And I really want to thank all the organizations that over time joined the No Child Left Inside coalition that numbered, I think, over 2,000 different organizations, local, state, national, across the country that stepped up behind this effort. We kept coming back every session, determined that we were going to get the No Child Left Inside priorities passed into law, and finally had that opportunity with the reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, and what is now the new ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act. And as you on the call well know, there's now sort of three baskets where opportunities for funding of environmental education exist within the USDE budget. One is under 21st Century Community Learning Centers, and then two under the Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grants Program. And the good news is that in the budget that I hope will be passing tomorrow, which is to finish out FY 2017, there's of resource available in the baskets that these grants can qualify for. So there should be an opportunity in the coming school year to begin taking advantage of that. We recognize that with some of these funding sources, the environmental education is kind of one of the new kids on the block in terms of jumping into space that's already occupied by other very competitive initiatives. But I'm very confident, given community of advocates I've worked with over the last few years that the environmental education proposals that will come forward from the state and local level will be extremely competitive for the dollars that are available in these various baskets, and over time that will increase. And I think the kind of strategizing and information sharing that can happen on this call and other calls like it will help to make the competition from the environmental community for these funds even stronger over time. And we'll obviously be working vigilantly to make sure we help with that process. So again, I just want to thank everybody on the call for this. For me, this is kind of a fulfillment of a 10-year odyssey, walking alongside of and arm in arm with tremendous advocates out there, both in education and in the environment, and it's gotten us to this very, very promising point. And again, to the superintendents, the educators that are on this call, who are going to participate and give you an idea of some of the things, creative things they're doing to take advantage of these new opportunities. Thank you for your terrific work. And with that, I'll hand it back to Kevin and Don. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Congressman. Again, we appreciate your efforts as well. I mean, your thanks, but you deserve a lot of it as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Campbell, who was one of the presenters at AASA in New Orleans.
Thanks, Dr. Maxwell, and hello to everybody from California. It's great to be on the call today. I just wanted to do a really quick overview of what we're up to in California and then share with one of our school districts, the Alameda Unified School District, and Sean McPhetridge, the work that they're doing. But basically, California several years ago adopted a blueprint for environmental literacy, which really sets the path for how we want to be sure that all of our 6.5 million kids in our K-12 public school system graduate high school as environmentally literate citizens. And to make that happen, we have a statewide environmental literacy steering committee that's made up of educators and nonprofit environmental educators groups, as well as individuals from the California government. And we're really working very, very hard with the steering committee to basically get information about environmental literacy and the blueprint out to all of our 1,000 school districts in California. We also have a really wonderful California environment curriculum that you can certainly access online if you're interested in it. But I would recommend to you that you Google the Blueprint for Environmental Literacy and really take a look at it, because it's a great document that sets a wonderful course for California for environmental literacy. One of the things that really is the hallmark of the way that we are approaching environmental education in California is through partnerships. And I work at the San Mateo County Office of Education. We have an environmental literacy collaborative that I'll speak about in a second, where we bring teachers in for professional development. We also have in the San Francisco and Monterey Bay areas an incredible group called Change Scale, which is a nonprofit specializing in environmental education that brings together the non-formal organizations and our school districts to form just terrific partnerships for environmental education in our schools. And then down in Southern California, there's an amazing work going on by a history social studies teacher, Jose Flores, who realizes that environmental education is a terrific way to bring together and integrate the Common Core and the next generation science standards and history social science. So he's very involved with that. And I, again, would recommend Googling Brawley High, and you can see the incredible work that Jose is doing. In San Mateo County, very quickly, our environmental literacy collaborative brings together school districts from throughout the Bay Area, representative teachers, together with 10 Strands, which is a really pivotal nonprofit devoted to environmental education in California, and then a variety of partners in the field. And we partner schools and different environmental education organizations together. Teachers learn about the principles of environmental ed, and then they go back to their schools and design units that they teach, and then come back together again in a professional development collaborative to share the work that they've done. So I would say that that partnership is really what highlights the work in environmental education in California. And now I'm going to turn this over to Sean McPhetridge, who is just a terrific colleague across the bay from me in the Alameda Unified School District, who together with Change Scale has developed really a K-12 approach to environmental education. So Sean, take it away.
Well, hear me. Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
We can hear you, Sean.
Okay, that's great. So quickly, Alameda Unified School District has been working on this for some time, and I have to give credit where credit's due, which is this is really a teacher-centered, student-centered, faculty-centered endeavor. We started years ago with a Go Green initiative and had a resolution and had teachers and students working on trying to create what they call the Green Schools Challenge, which was really about a diversion rate. It was about trying to get less trash and recyclables and compost in landfill and working on recycling and changing their schools and being the change they wanted to see in the world. And that really then led to this resolution that everybody probably sees here that was approved just last week. We had a similar resolution some 8 or 9 years ago by the Go Green people, but it basically talks about how we want to work as a district writ large to teach students to be stewards of their communities and to improve our environmental footprint, to reduce, to reuse, to recycle, to teach children about how it's important for us to understand the environment. Change Scale has been a very important partner in this work in the last year or so to help us start looking at institutionalizing this. We've also partnered with a company called Synergistic that has helped us make changes in conserving energy. We do have a goal of 90% diversion by 2020. We do have a Go Green site coordinator at every school site that helps us, helps students and faculty establish uniform recycling and composting programs. We did win the Golden Bell Award from California School Boards Association 3 years ago for this, and then were recognized Bay Farm Elementary School last year and hosted throughout the state for the Green Ribbon work, and then sent them to DC. And then this year, our early college high school, Alameda Science Technology Institute, also received a Green Ribbon Award. This has been a partnership that we have made with schools, but also with the city. Kids have helped the city to make throughout the city of Alameda where you have to request a straw. You don't get a straw, you get straw on demand. Kids have told us that the spork packaging and all that type of thing was terrible. So this is really a grassroots effort. If you look at the 90% solution project on that slide, the goal is to reach 90% diversion by 2020. You'll see custodial training. Again, maintenance operation facility staff were crucial to this work. We're designated a Stop Waste Priority Partner District and worked with Alameda Municipal Power and with Stop Waste to do that. And we obtained a multi-year grant from them for a green program facilitator at every single school and someone to help facilitate that. On the next page, you'll see the right sizing project. We've tried to increase our recycling and composting so that we divert from landfill. We've reduced our trash volumes. You'll see that mini bin project that even extends to the district office where we have these small landfill bins to encourage and incentivize people to recycle and to compost instead of using trash for landfill. And that's been very useful to us so that we can show that we're doing it throughout the district. All our schools have these mini bins, working on these mini bins. We also have seen the plastic waste reduction, which I spoke to. We eliminated spork packets. We've eliminated straws. The city eliminated straws and went to straw on demand. The city has been great partners with us. Alameda Municipal Power, which is our municipal power, they're looking at working with us as partners to install solar energy on our campuses because we could not be able to afford that. So we're partnering with the city to do that. You'll see that food waste reduction. We worked with our local assembly person and with a food bank in Alameda County, and we're now trying to formalize not only food share tables at our schools so no food goes wasted, but also donating surplus food to those who need it in the county. I think the next slide will show you that the next push for us is our environmental literacy planning. We already are blessed with many school gardens, but now we're looking at regular and consistent field trips so that every student gets a field trip. Alameda is an island right here in the Bay Area. We do have Crab Cove and we do have outdoor education centers at our middle schools. Now we want to have a nature center at every high school. We want to make sure that we support the gardens at every elementary school. We will be providing a network teacher institute this summer. We will be working with Change Scale and with Base Science, BaseI, to provide professional development to teachers so that we can make these connections and integrate environmental literacy with existing curriculum in other areas. And we are looking at a plan so that we can make sure that we are very conscious in our field trips. So this is really from the inside out, starting at the school, working to the community, partnering with the community to save and steward our local environment. And thank you for allowing me the chance to share today.
Well, Sean, thank you. It's an honor to have you, and really exciting the work you've done in Alameda County. Very fantastic. And congratulations on your resolution that passed. It's so wonderful. And this is Don Baugh again. I'd like to introduce Dr. Suzanne Lacey. And those that haven't seen the Alabama video, I strongly recommend you check it out. Wonderful documentation of the great work. So, Dr. Lacey, thank you for joining today.
Thank you, and good afternoon from Talladega County Schools. We are extremely honored to be a part of this conversation and proud to share our work in Talladega County, which really started about 10 years ago in 3 of our schools, Munford Elementary, Munford Middle, and Munford High School. Joining me today is Kim Murray, our resource teacher, and you will hear more from her shortly. But the green movement in Talladega County Schools is alive and well. We now have 10 U.S. Department of Education green ribbon schools, along with our district. And it has really been a great learning opportunity for all of our students throughout the county. We serve 7,600 students in 17 schools with roughly 1,000 employees.
And terrific. And do you want to introduce Kim to us? That would be wonderful.
Yes, Kim Murray serves as our science resource teacher for the Munford schools. She is an exemplary teacher and responsible for so much of the initiatives throughout the district. She is funded not only with local school funds, but also by the U.S. Forest Service. We are fortunate to have Talladega County Ranger District in our county, who are great partners, and because of their leadership and understanding of what our mission is throughout the district with environmental education, they are always pitching in with various resources, financial, and their time and expertise. So Kim is going to share a little bit about further success in our schools throughout the district.
We have several great projects going on currently, and the reason they're so great is because of the collaboration we have with our partnerships from across the state and even from across the country. For example, it was a couple years ago, we sat in Montgomery with the State Department of Education, the Alabama Wildlife Federation, 4-H, the Forest Service, and Munford Schools to talk about how we could promote environmental education in the schools. And from that meeting, we came up with there were 3 ways that we could all work together, because a lot of these organizations have great environmental education programs, but they don't have a lot of resources, they don't have a lot of time, and they don't have a lot of people to put towards these projects. So we all sat together at the table on how we could work together, and we came up with these 3 ways. One is to work with the school systems to develop and build schools that have an environmental theme to them, whether it's displays or how they're built or how to do the landscaping to promote environmental education. One was also to create a position like mine. We found with me being in the classroom, I was in the classroom actually 6 years at Munford, 3 years in 4th grade and 3 years in 5th grade, before we came together and created my position. So I am a science resource teacher. I work with kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, bringing those schools together. And then the third way was how can we provide more funding to schools to promote environmental education. And to go back to my position, the previous slide kind of showed the older students with the younger students. You know, we spent so much time for several years, especially while I was in the classroom. You know, elementary had their side of the school, middle had their side of the school, and high school had theirs. Well, we found that by pulling the high school kids as mentors for the elementary, it has had a huge impact. That bottom picture in the middle with the bluebirds, those high school students, they each have a buddy, a second grade buddy, teaching them about the bluebirds and about the nests and about the babies that are in there. We have our aquaculture facility, the gardening. They're planting longleaf pine. But you should see the kids, the younger kids, interact with the older students. It's amazing. So pulling those students together has been a huge resource for us. And that grew into the funding. After, with my position, bringing everybody together was how can we promote more funding to promote more projects with this? So we applied with the U.S. Forest Service a More Kids in the Woods grant, and we call it Kids Teaching Kids. You can Google, you can look up more about it. But the Kids Teaching Kids is we now invite schools to Munford to tour the outdoor classrooms, and the stations are taught by high school students. Our focus is fourth grade visitors that come for the field trips, and then with the More Kids in the Woods grant, they're provided $1,000 to go back to their own classrooms and their own schools to build outdoor classrooms. So that helped us reach our second goal. And so we really work with our kids, with the leadership, as Dr. Lacey was talking about, these leadership opportunities, getting our kids involved in the community, whether it's these cleanups with our community partners, such as the Choccolocco Creek Watershed Alliance, our National Get Outdoors Day. In fact, tomorrow we're hosting our second annual Farm Day that, teaching children about agriculture and where their food comes from. And to find out more about Munford Schools and all the great projects going on, we do have a new Facebook page. It's based off our Children's Forest designation. It's called Munford Montane Longleaf Children's Forest. So you can look up all the great projects we have going on there. But talking more about the Farm Day that's going to be happening tomorrow, this is our next project. We're always looking next, what do our partners need? For example, 4-H, huge partner for us. Alpha, a local farmers federation, insurance, a great partner for us. They're working with us to teach children where their food comes from. I was with a school last Friday, and we were doing a hamburger plant lesson from 4-H, teaching kids about how all the parts of the hamburger come from a plant. And every time I ask the kids, where does the lettuce come from? Walmart. Where does the tomato come from? Walmart. And so we now work with our kindergarten students, and at the beginning of the project, you ask them what they think about lettuce, and they want nothing to do with it. But by the time they harvest it and grow it and water it and weed it, and for an entire fall, they get so looking forward to our salad party. And that's the little boy at the top. I mean, these kids are so excited. Now, I still have a few that have nothing to do with salad still. Don't want the lettuce, but at least now they understand when somebody asks them where their lettuce comes from, they're not going to say Walmart. And so that's the point of the Farm Day that we're doing tomorrow. That's the work that I do with our kindergarten students every year, and that's why we're starting our new project called an Eco Farm. It's called Educational Community Outreach, and we're just teaching food about where their food comes from. Now, we're also going from kindergarten all the way to high school. We want these kids to be successful after high school. And how can they be successful? What are employers looking for? What are colleges looking for in a successful student? And so we partner up with Jacksonville State University. Several of their biology professors are doing research out in the field. They happily take our students out there to give them a hand. Our kids are out there looking for invasive species. They're looking for native species. They're doing stream identification with all the ecosystem in there. Auburn University, the gentleman in the bottom left-hand corner is checking a bear hair snare that we've put out in the Talladega National Forest. We've got bait in the middle, and our students go looking at the barbed wire trying to find hair, and then we send that hair to Auburn University for them to analyze for DNA so they can study the bears coming through our area. And then with the University of Alabama, in that bottom right corner, there's a wonderful video series with Dr. Doug Phillips called Discovering Alabama. They've been to Munford touring the school, and we've been in several of their videos. So we love our Alabama partnership. They also host our SGA State Conference. They also host our cheer camp. So universities are a wonderful partner just across the entire state of Alabama, even for career fairs. Our 8th grade students go to Auburn every year to learn about job opportunities for them, because if they enjoy being outside, they can go to either of these colleges or jobs right after high school. So we have just a lot of great opportunities. Thanks to our community partners. They all got together to help our students be successful. But hopefully through the pictures I've been able to show you today, you've seen the success is because of the collaboration between the students and the parents and the community and our administration and Dr. Lacey and the school board, everybody coming together to make this Munford model a success.
Well, Kim, congratulations. What an exciting program you have, and wonderful. And Dr. Lacey and the whole team, they're really, really exciting. And hey, just a technical, this is Tom Baugh again, a technical input. If you are not speaking, if you could put yourself on mute, that would be wonderful. And so those are the two exciting kind of models from California, Alameda, and from Alabama. So thank you all so much. And what I'd like to do now is turn to the next part of the program, which is to talk about partnerships. So if I could turn to Kathy McGlauflin, that would be wonderful. And Kathy, it's all yours.
Great, thanks, Don. And I'll just let you know when I'm ready for you to go to the next slide. So I get to talk about partnerships after hearing about two amazing examples of successful partnerships. So thank you for making my job easy on this. So let's go to the next slide. Don, there we go. So you got great examples of who these two school districts are partnering with, but say you're just starting, like who do you go to? So it's really about putting the right people in the room. And I think it was Kim who talked about the meeting with the various people where they sat down and set their 3 goals. That's exactly the right approach. And who are some of these folks that you might want to bring to the table? So certainly your district administrators, principals, vice principals, your curriculum specialists. And I want to point out that, you know, those folks are really important because they're often the ones at the district level who are providing and organizing the professional development that your educators are going to have in your schools. And certainly, if you're at the beginning and you're thinking about doing this, going to professional development to help your teachers see how to integrate environmental education is really critical and important. And I think, Kim, if you don't mind, I did some research and it looks like back in, I think it was 2006, you participated in a Project Learning Tree professional development. At least that's the records that we have about someone from your school, perhaps. So that's a good place to start, is getting those folks who know what their teachers need and want. Science, STEM, environmental science teachers, of course, those are critical and important, but they're not the only ones. Especially, you know, if you think at the elementary school level, most schools don't have a designated science teacher, right? They're doing interdisciplinary teacher. Very lucky if they have a special person like Kim who can help coordinate the science going on within that elementary school. But looking at the high school level, you know, thinking about what other high school courses incorporate environmental education and bringing those folks to the table. Your journalism instructors who are having their students write news stories about the environment. How great would it be to get them involved in this as well? Of course, civics instructors who are talking perhaps about environmental laws and regulations. Economics, looking at the economics of the environment. I think the example in Alameda County where you're looking at not just saving resources, but saving money for the school. Your business teachers, fine arts, and of course, an important aspect, I think, more and more is our health educators who are looking at the impacts on our environment, on young people's health and the health of our communities. So don't forget that there are other educators out there who might be important to be sitting at the table to talk about partnerships. And then, of course, there's national, state, and local environmental education providers. And again, the examples that we just heard from are working with those providers. I know in the Alameda example, I know in the Alameda example, I hope that wasn't bored from what I'm saying, sorry about that. The Alameda example, certainly they have taken advantage in the teacher institutes of gathering in the environmental education providers, including Project WET, Project WILD, and Project Learning Tree folks, as well as local environmental education providers. And then really critical, I think, to bring in those resource managers or the land managers who are operating at the state and local level. And we certainly heard that with the Talladega County schools with their, I think you're like right in the middle of a national forest, which I think is partly why you've got that great Smokey Bear sign at your schools. And I know they've been a big help in the work that you're doing. There's other examples. We have a school district in Florida, Wakulla School District, that is partnering with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's St. Mark's National Wildlife Refuge, and they come and work with the schools in that district, bringing students both for field trips, but as well bringing resource folks in to share content and information and support for the school. I know in Alabama as well, there's a lot of other participation from, say, state agencies as well as state associations who are working on land management. So those are other resources to bring in and partner with you. Remembering that environmental education is interdisciplinary, so it's important to do that. Okay, the next slide is talking about setting your goals, and I loved that Kim talked about the 3 goals that her first meeting set up. That's impressive. And you know, why do you want to do that? Because you want to figure out, is there success at the end of your work? So a first place to start is, does your state already have a state environmental literacy plan? Right now, there are 37 states that currently do have a plan. I believe it's on the NAAA website. You'll hear from Sarah in a few minutes, and perhaps she can expand on that to find out whether your state has one or not. And if they do, how can you engage in the implementation of that plan? And if they don't, how can you engage in the development of a plan? And, you know, the second bullet, I come across this all the time in my work. Oh, we're not doing anything in environmental education. Well, often there is environmental education going on. You just might not know about it. Why is that? It might be just happening within one classroom, within one school, within an after-school program. So there's many ways that EE takes place in schools across the country. But it's important to sort of get that base level of what's already going on so we can build on that and take advantage of work that's going on and get more schools involved. And so checking with those same partners that we talked about in the previous slide, they may know of things that are going on that you as a superintendent may not necessarily be aware of. And then figuring out how much do you want to advance environmental education. And this is always a tricky thing, you know. Is it overwhelming to think of every school in our whole district? You know, imagine some of the larger school districts. Or do you want to have a whole school engaged? Do you want to have a whole grade? Do you want to just encourage individual teachers across your district to take advantage of environmental education opportunities? Or do you want to focus on one of your after-school programs and get that program really engaged to integrate environmental education into their program? So you really want to think about what your personal goals are for wanting to advance environmental education. Of course, this organization, SEEK, is looking to district-wide and whole districts, and we've heard some great examples already about that. That is what we're hoping to see happen across the country, but we recognize that you have to start someplace. So you have heard, those of you on the call have heard some great examples already, and I'm impressed by the work they're doing. You can certainly look at that. And through SEEK, we will be continuing to share other examples of what some other districts are doing. I think it's important to also point out, you know, the model of having a person. We heard about that in Alameda with the, I'm sorry, I can't remember if you called them the green guides or, you know, for each school. And then as Kim said, you know, her position as a coordinator for science and environmental education. Those are great models. You need sort of a champion to make this stuff happen. Okay, next slide, Dawn. So looking at, just a quick second here on Project Learning Tree, we do have support across the country. You can go to plt.org and find where PLT is in your state. We have state level coordinators, but we also have facilitators, about 1,500 across the country, who work at their local level providing professional development to schools and other educators in their communities. We also connect with other environmental organizations in each state. You're going to hear from Sarah in a few minutes, but like Project Wild, Project WET, the Aldo Leopold Project, other national EE programs, as well as all the programs that are happening at the local level through nature centers, through the National Wildlife Federation, through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, through the Forest Service. So partnering with all of those organizations. And we do work across districts across the country, and we'll be hearing from some of those through SEEK as we continue on. I think we'll go to the next slide and talk just a little bit about some of the resources that we do provide. You can visit our website to see some information specifically designed, some of the messages for administrators about the importance of environmental education and how to make it happen in your school. We do work diligently at aligning our materials to both state and national standards. It's an ever-changing world, as you all know. Of course, NGSS, C3, Common Core, and then how the states have, in some cases, relabeled those national standards for their own state standards. So we do work to make sure that happens. We've just recently, they're being released some new what we call e-units, which are electronic on a website, directly tied into both NGSS, C3, and Common Core. I'm really aligned with the 3 pillars within NGSS and designed to help educators implement the standards in an environmental education framework in their classroom. We also provide this professional development for educators, and I think it's important to support your teachers, helping them see how EE can be integrated into what they're already supposed to be teaching. Not that it has to be a separate topic to be addressed, but that it helps them do English, social studies, history, math, as well as science. And so we provide PD in person, district-wide, individual school, working with nature centers, offering PD on a Saturday for those who want to come, for both formal and non-formal educators. But we also have online professional development available for our materials. And then two programs I just want to point out. We have a program called GreenWorks, which provides support for service learning projects around and about the environment, small grants that go out to folks who have participated in EE in their schools, engaging the students and youth voice in that. And then we also have a Green Schools program. Right now, over 4,000 schools are engaged in that, and we're proud to say over 2/3 of the Green Ribbon schools have also been PLT Green Schools, so that's exciting to partner with Andrea Falk at the U.S. Department of Education and work on that as well. And we're really big in that on having that student voice and then providing opportunities for partnership in the implementation of Green Schools activities, just like you heard from the Alameda County schools, with investigations around waste management, water use, energy, school site, and then environmental quality. So now I'd like to turn it over to my partner at NAAA, Sarah Boder, who's going to share with you information about her organization.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm going to just very briefly sort of follow up on Kathy's slides with another word about partnerships and some of the opportunities that we hope we can offer in terms of support for you at the local level. And then I'm actually going to say a bookend Congressman Sarbanes' comments about the Every Student Succeeds Act and talk a little bit more specifically about the funding opportunities there. And I know we want to get to questions, so I will try to be very brief. So we are the North American Association for Environmental Education. We're the professional association for environmental educators. And that's a really broad category of professionals who work in a wide range of settings, but who often have programs and services and resources that are designed to support classroom teachers in delivering environmental education as part of the curriculum. We do have a state environmental education association affiliate in every state, and so there is a sort of matching state level organization in your state with whom I urge you to connect if you are not already connected. This map is just an image from our website that you can click on to find out exactly how to contact your affiliate. If you have any problems or issues with that, I'm always happy to work directly with you to make sure you get connected. But through that affiliate network, we do have connections to environmental education programs and providers across the country at every scale. So the kinds of national partners that Kathy talked about, we work really closely with our colleagues at Project Learning Tree. In many instances, our Environmental Education Association affiliates are the deliverers and coordinators for programs like Project Learning Tree at the state level. But we also, that network includes many, smaller scale programs, many very highly local and place-based education programs as well. Going on to some of the resources and tools that we have available, as the Professional Association for Environmental Education, we support and disseminate models and best practices, particularly around the integration of environmental education into the curriculum from pre-K and early childhood all the way up through 12th grade. Those are guidelines for excellence documents that really help someone who's fairly new to environmental education understand what's really age appropriate in terms of not just content knowledge, but skills. We are working right now to update those to reflect all of the changes in standards that Kathy talked about earlier. We can also offer frameworks for environmental literacy planning and implementation. We have put out in the past guidance to states who are developing those environmental literacy plans that Kathy mentioned. We have frameworks for curricular integration and really real hands-on tools for helping curriculum developers at the district level understand how they can integrate environmental education as seamlessly as possible into the existing curriculum. We also try to compile the best of what research tells us on the value of environmental education. And we just finished a really exciting project with Stanford University and a number of other partners that took a look at what all of the peer-reviewed literature tells us about the impact of environmental education on student outcomes. And the findings were really quite positive and quite astounding, looking at a number of things from, knowledge gains to engagement and enthusiasm about learning, achievement in STEM, and a wide number of outcomes. And we've compiled all of that information, both the academic research links as well as some summaries and fact sheets about what the research tells us on our website. And we'd be pleased to share that link with this group. And then finally, through our network and our affiliates, we're able to offer some technical assistance if you are thinking about developing a district-wide plan or really trying to approach this from some systemic standpoint and aren't really sure where to get started. Our affiliates are often in a good position to help facilitate that conversation, bring some non-formal partners to the table to help you better understand what the opportunities are in your district and where those resources might best match to the scope and sequence of education in your district. And now I'll just transition briefly to funding. Congressman Sarbanes, who really is the genius behind some recent accomplishments through the Every Student Succeeds Act, touched on this. So I will try not to be too repetitive, but if you haven't participated in these webinars or conversations in the past, want you to know that the Every Student Succeeds Act does now include environmental education as a program that's eligible for funding. It's singled out for the very first time in history, and that was due, as the Congressman mentioned, to a lot of work over about 10 years, and it was a hard-won success that we're very excited to take advantage of. So to go into detail, the Congressman mentioned those baskets. I'm just put them up here on the screen again. In Title IV of the Every Student Succeeds Act, there are 2 grant programs that include language for environmental education. The Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grants you may all be familiar with include activities under this umbrella of a well-rounded education, and environmental education fits in there. There's also some encouraging language about field-based, hands-on, and service learning opportunities related to the mastery of STEM skills. And we know from our experience that oftentimes environmental education fits really nicely into that category. And then the second grant is the 21st Century Community Learning Centers. This is an existing grant program that many of you are probably familiar with, and it serves out of school time programming. And we know that there are already many after school and out of school time programs that have some focus on the environment. They may even be programs that take place in the out of doors or on schoolyards. But we're hoping that the inclusion of language around environmental literacy programming will help us to advocate for a real boost in that type of programming. And just to dive in just a bit more deeply, the legislation, if you've been paying attention, had authorized that first grant program at $1.6 billion, and it was legislated as a block grant program that would be disseminated to every district in the country. With the passage of the fiscal year 17 appropriations bill, hopefully tomorrow, we know that we're expecting an allocation of $400 million for that program, and recognizing what a significantly smaller pot of funding that is, the bill actually tweaks the program to be disseminated as the competitive grant program that states would administer. So every state will have some of that funding, and they will be able to administer a competitive grant program to school districts or groups of school districts focused on those state student support and academic enrichment activities, including all of those well-rounded opportunities that I talked about. Just again, a tiny bit additional detail on that. These are prioritized for high need students, and the bill includes language in support of paying attention to geographic diversity of the distribution of funds within any state. And under the legislation, grants may not be smaller than $10,000. So the minimum will be $10,000 per grant. And depending on the amount of funding that a state has, some of those grants could be significantly more. And then quickly under Part B, again, these are out of school funds, after school programs. Environmental literacy is included as an eligible activity. STEM is also a priority under that particular grant program. And as I'm sure most of you know, it does target Title I schools and programs. I should mention, because of the wonderful presentations that we heard, and Kim mentioned the U.S. Forest Service grant, there is a long history of federal agencies supporting environmental education through relatively small but really critical environmental education grant programming. NOAA offers significant funding for environmental education, as does EPA through their Office of Environmental Education. But we're just really excited about this historic win, and having the U.S. Department of Education really recognizing environmental education as an important part of a well-rounded education. And last fall, we were really thrilled that the Department of Education saw fit to issue guidance to the states as they began to explore the implementation of the Every Student Succeeds Act, that looked at how the Title IV funding should be considered by states and school districts, and they called out the environmental education piece and offered some examples of high quality environmental education programming, including Project Learning Tree, and they also highlighted the guidelines for excellence for pre-K through 12 education that I mentioned earlier, that is a resource from NAAEE. And we do feel like this guidance document is just another tool in the toolkit in terms of advocating for an increase in environmental education as part of every student's education. And with that, Don, I'll hand it back over to you to talk a little bit about the process.
Sarah, fantastic, and congratulations to you and your team. It's so wonderful to have money to get some of this work done. So we're excited for that. And so just very, very briefly on process, and what I'd like to do is after that, open it up for Dr. Maxwell to be able to facilitate questions. But just the short version, if you're looking at the slide, the ladder of engagement, I think it reinforces what we heard, which is that there's an opportunity. People come in this ladder in different places. Districts come from all over different places. But the idea is that, perhaps there are ways to enhance the environmental education program in your district. And it could be through partnerships, could be through money. Hopefully, it'll lead towards you becoming even a stronger, more robust and model program. So with that, let me just turn it over to Dr. Maxwell and for really questions to answer. So Dr. Maxwell, it's all you if you want to open it up.
Yeah, so thanks everybody. So I've been keeping an eye on the chat column, and I know Erica just put a message on there to type questions there if you have them, or you can unmute and ask the questions, and whoever feels like they're the right person to answer can answer it. But there have been some questions about a recording, and that will be available on our website, www.sups4ee.org. It's in the chat/resources. It's in the chat column. And most of the others are slides available. Yes, they'll be available as well. So with that, if there's any other questions, we have about 4 minutes left, I think, on the 4 or 5 minutes left. So fire away if you have questions. I'm trying to use good wait time. Don, it looks like there's no questions.
Kevin, this is Kathy McGlauflin. I would just like to hope that any superintendents or other district folks or other participants on this call, as you're moving up your ladder of engagement, to keep us informed on it. And go to our website, let us know what you're doing so we can share your story with others.
This is Sean McPhetridge from Alameda Unified, and I'm just happy to speak to anybody out there as a resource if you ever want to know more about sort of the path we took.
Well, terrific, Sean, and thank you for the comments coming in on the chat box. And so, Dr. Maxwell, do you think we should close it out, or any other final comments you'd like to make?
Only that a question just came in about the ESSA funding, indicating the funding was for state level programming, and it asked about whether there will be a national effort to bring the superintendent projects forward. I think the answer to that is the funding by design as the federal government, in almost all, whether it's this funding or any other funding, flows through states. But the national effort is this work that we're doing right now to help people get the projects together to be able to ask for funding. So Sarah or Kathy or anybody, if you want to add to that.
This is Sarah. I would just add, you answered that correctly. The money will be granted to the states, and then they in turn will administer a competitive grant program. And so there's some opportunity to work at the state level to help further refine priorities for those grant programs, as well as we have a strong interest in working with you and others to stand up some really exemplary models that will receive funding through these grant programs, and in hopes that sort of success will breed success. And the more that we can identify some really high impact programs to receive these funds, the more likely those funds will continue to be directed towards environmental education in the future.
This is Kathy. Hi, Catherine. How are you doing? I would also add that SEEK, as a partnership and organization, is committed to working at supporting these national efforts. So we, as an organization, partnering with Upstream Alliance, NAAA, and PLT, have made commitments, financial and personnel, to continue this work. And Don has done a great job of raising funds to continue this partnership so that we can bring forward great models for states to implement.
Well, with that, at 1:59, Dr. Maxwell, I'll let you make the closing statements, and thank you all very much.
I just want to thank everybody for their interest and just encourage you when we schedule the next one, bring some friends with you. That's how we'll grow this work and make sure that in your own states and in your own circles of influence to make sure you're promoting the work so that we can all get better together. And thank everybody for joining us today.
And terrific. With that, we'll close it out, and thank you all very much. The webinar is now finished.